today's top 5. In case you forget what today's top 5 is, today's top 5 is where Steve and I rank 5 things in different sports contexts, ranking players, ranking teams, whatever it may be. We provide you with that information. And today, we are doing our top 5 teams in the NFL. We debated on when it was time to do this, when it was we had enough of a sample size to properly rank these teams, and now we think it's time. So without further ado, today's top 5. So here we have it. Today's top 5. Our top 5 teams in the NFL. Starting at the bottom, working our way up. Number 5, the Miami Dolphins. Now, I've said this before, that I have been very hesitant on giving the Dolphins their praise, that we needed a bigger sample size from Tua, that we needed the Dolphins as a whole to stay healthy and do this just more often and more frequently, and they have done that. They are number 1 in total passing yards and rushing yards. Tyreek Hill is without question the best wide receiver in the NFL. There is Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill are guaranteed touchdowns every single week. Every single week. Tua is defying my expectations of what we thought we were going to get from him this season. I still think health is in question. Steve, my question is to you as our resident Dolphins fan is, how long can this last? And is this high level of offense and this high potent offense sustainable for an entire season, including a deep playoff run?
The Dolphins have a lot of pieces on that offense that are dangerous. They have the 7 fastest plays in the NFL. The 7 fastest ball carrying plays in the NFL this year. They have the four of the fastest guys on their team that start each week. But the Dolphins, I'm not going to sit here and say that they are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to beat the Chiefs or whoever else. But I'm saying right now, I see no signs that the offense isn't sustainable.
But my other question mark besides Tua's health and the offense is Mike McDaniel has never really been in a high pressure playoff game situation. So how does he handle that? I don't know. He's given us no reason to not believe in him. He hasn't done really anything wrong yet, but I like to actually see him handle a playoff game to believe he can. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, he's weird. He's like a little kid up there, dude. He's wearing those cargo shorts with the same Air Force Ones and hoodie that he probably wore in high school.
Moving on to number 4, sticking in the same division, the Buffalo Bills. And before we go into the Bills, Steve and I both believe that the Bills could be anywhere from 4-2. Really, 2, 3, and 4 are very fluid in where you can place them. But we have the Bills at number 4. 3 and 2 so far this year. 4th in total passing yards. Top 15 only in total rushing yards. Could certainly be better. And they are 12th overall in points allowed in the NFL. And we are at a very sensitive time in the NFL season where the Bills play really, really well. Josh Allen gets a lot of praise, and we're about to approach the time of when they lose a couple games and they skid. And so, nonetheless, though, this is the best Bills team in maybe the last 3 seasons that I can think of, maybe. I might be saying that a little too soon. But their 2 losses this season are in one to week 1 to the Jets, which just kind of strange. It's a weird.
He looked bad.
It was week 1. Yeah, it was just weird. It was a weird game. And their other loss was just this last week to Jacksonville in their other home stadium in London. So it's not like they realistically could be 5-0 if things gone their way. But yeah, my question, I guess, to you, Steve, is do you think we're going to fall into the same trap that we do with Buffalo every single season, or is this looking a little different?
Josh Allen just needs to get over his playoff hump. They're always, as long as Josh Allen is playing the way he is, they're going to consistently be a top 5 team in the NFL. All of our questions surrounding the Bills have come when the playoffs start. So it's And I'm not going to fault a guy for losing to Patrick Mahomes as many times as he has. So Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, of course, always Mahomes. But like there are a select few group of guys this year who are already quietly making that MVP conversation. So Josh Allen's one of them.
Number 3, my favorite team, one of the 2 undefeated teams left in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds. 5-0 this season, as I just said. They are second in total yards on the season. They are 10th in passing yards, second in total rushing yards. All that being said, this has not been a great season for Philadelphia. I'm not going to lie. I just need more from Jalen Hurts that we had last season, and I have said from the start how hard it is to replicate that success. But for this Philadelphia team, man, it's Super Bowl or bust. I think anything less than a Super Bowl trip or at least an NFC title game will be disappointing. And right now, it's just they don't look like they're up to that standard. I don't know what needs to change necessarily or what the individual thing or things are that is making them look this way, but they just need to be better because right now they're not playing like a Super Bowl caliber team.
Jalen Hurts has 6 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions this year.
Yes,
and a lot of the throws, but you and me have talked about this. You and me had the conversation the other night where I said, it looks like Jalen Hurts is just trying to force things. He got that big contract and he's just trying to do too much, to prove his validation for getting that contract. Jalen Hurts is going to get it figured out. He is the same quarterback as he was last year. And the Eagles, top to bottom, they have the best defensive line in football, in my opinion. Their secondary is scary. They have a great running back in DeAndre Swift, who's dangerous. They have 2 great receivers. They have one of the best offensive lines in football. The only thing that needs to change is Jalen Hurts just needs to step up a little more.
I did want to mention DeAndre Swift, and I forgot. He was good in Detroit, but he is thriving in Philadelphia. He is playing so much better than I think a lot of people initially anticipated or expected. So, very good things to see. But yeah, Jalen Hurts needs to just step it up, or we're going to have a disappointing season by our standards. Number 2, a team that we really were not 100% comfortable putting in number 2, but we felt we had to, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Steve, I had said to you before we got on today that I had done some extra research into Kansas City to explain kind of where we're at. So before I get into that, they're 4-1 so far this season, top 10 in total yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. The last season, 2022, at this point in the season, the Chiefs had just under 1,400 passing yards, 571 rushing yards, had an 8-point differential, and had 1,907 total yards of offense. This season, they have only 2 less total yards of offense. They have 2 points better in their points difference per game, and they have just under 40 yards less of total passing yards. We are right on par to where they were last season when they won the Super Bowl. And I think the explanations make a little more sense this year where it's like Travis Kelce's been dealing with health since week 1. Patrick Mahomes, we said last night to one another, who's he out there throwing to? You had mentioned how vital their offensive coordinator was, who's no longer there. How big of a difference is that making? They don't look like, if you watch them, that they're the second best team in the NFL. But we have to remember Patrick Mahomes is an all-time generational talent. This is right where they were last season when they proved everybody wrong. And as time goes on, maybe they fill out some roster spots. Hopefully Kelce can stay healthy long-term. Mahomes will play a little bit better. So they're the second best team just because they almost have to be.
They do. And I didn't know those numbers. Losing Eric Bieniemy and only losing 2 less yards of total offense at the same point of the season is a massive. That to me shows me that Patrick Mahomes has stepped up. Now, we both said Mahomes isn't having the Mahomes-esque year that we're used to him having. Losing your offensive coordinator, I know he lost Tyreek Hill 2 years ago, but then he lost Juju Smith-Schuster last year. Travis Kelce was hurt. He's been hobbled. He hasn't been playing to the level he has been. Kadarius Toney drops almost everything Patrick Mahomes throws at him. Pacheco is finally starting to get it together, but what the Chiefs have that makes them number 2 is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is still the best football player in football right now. Patrick Mahomes is a top 5 all-time quarterback. Patrick Mahomes makes wide receivers who are average at best look very good, and he's doing it again.
That's just the effect Mahomes has and shows how good he is. They're the second best team in the NFL, whether it looks like it or not. They really are. You kind of got to believe, see through the facade that that's really what they're not. Leaving us at the number 1 spot, which was very easy, very obvious, the San Francisco 49ers. 5-0 so far, the other undefeated team. 3rd in total yards, 8th in yards per game for passing, and they are 3rd in rushing yards. They are number 1 in forced turnovers per game. They are number 1 in total points allowed so far this season. And who's beating the 49ers? Let me tell you, Steve, who the 49ers have left on their schedule. You ready? Tell me which one of these teams you're like, that could be legit. Seattle twice, Arizona, Cleveland, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, and the Rams. Now, Philly, I think obviously that's going to be a game. 3 of those teams.
I have 3 teams in there that I believe could beat the Niners.
Okay.
Not that I think they're definitely going to, but Seahawks playing them twice. Seahawks are 4-1 as well. I'm not going to knock the Seahawks.
Okay, fair.
And it's a divisional game. They have to play them in Seattle. That's a hard place to play.
Okay,
I think Seattle is one of the teams. The Bengals, if Joe Burrow gets it together in the next 5-6 weeks, like look what they just did to Arizona. You just said that he was going to have this waking up game. Like he just demolished, and Jamar Chase had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. If Joe Burrow can replicate that, there's no team that they can't beat. In the Eagles.
Yep.
I think that the Eagles have a defense that's going to give Brock Purdy a problem. I think that defensive line is finally going to get to Brock Purdy, and that's a game that we're going to see how it goes.
Now, I am not advocating that they're going to go undefeated. That's not what I was trying to get at.
They can beat every one of those teams.
Yeah. Because the things that I'll say, like, Seattle is good. You're right. Don't get me wrong. If I'm San Francisco, I'm not afraid of Seattle. I just don't think Seattle's near the same level. Cincinnati, I think their defense is so good, and Joe Burrow, I don't think plays well under direct pressure, and Jamar Chase doesn't play well when there's a lot of physical, like extra man coverage, which San Francisco is. So I just think Philadelphia is going to be a game. I would say that's the exception on that list. But yeah, point being that like they're just so much better than all those other teams that like they have such a great rest of the season. Brock Purdy, as we mentioned the other night, is proving things to a lot of people. We just talked about Brock Purdy on this show last episode and how we need to see this large sample size. He needs to make tougher throws, playing some comeback games. He made some pretty outrageous throws in the Dallas game, and we were a little soon to say Dallas might be the best defense in the league, maybe, but still a top 5 defense, and Brock Purdy just picked them apart.
He lit them up.
Picked them apart. So between how great their offense is with McCaffrey and Brock Purdy and all their weapons, how outstanding and physical their defense is, it's truly a no-brainer, in my opinion, to have the Niners at number 1.
Christian McCaffrey has scored a touchdown in 13 straight games. Christian McCaffrey right now is making a very good argument for NFL MVP.
Yeah.
He is doing everything.
Yep.
He's doing it out of the backfield. He's doing it catching. He's doing it just even there are moments whenever the running back doesn't get the ball, people forget that the running back still has to pick up linebacker blitzes. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best blitzing, blocking linebackers in the league. He has saved Brock Purdy from getting sacked a number of times from helping out. So it's just Christian McCaffrey right now is playing like the best player in the NFL. Yeah. I'm not ready to take it from Mahomes yet, but McCaffrey he's ready.
He's up there.
Take that. He's ready to take that.
Mm-hmm. So you run through today's top 5 one more time. At number 1, San Francisco 49ers. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 4, the Buffalo Bills. And number 5, the Miami Dolphins. That is today's top 5. Hope everyone enjoyed.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.